Welcome to the show. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be talking about the new season of Dexter, titled New Blood. This is the episode number 1 review. The episode's called Cold Snap. It's funny. Whenever I think of Dexter, I think of, and this is weird. Now we may have had this conversation before. I always looked at it as like a twisted superhero show. That was all, and there's so many elements that reminds me of superheroes. Yes, he's a serial killer and he does horrible things, but he has this little secret lair, typically, or places where he does his kills. He's highly skilled and all. He targets specifically bad people, and usually every season has sort of a big bad or like a supervillain. He's constantly losing those around him. There's always tragedy in his life. It's written like a comic book character, just sort of a very twisted one. Do you guys agree, or how do you look at the series? Because it's a police procedural. At least the original series sort of was that, but also about a serial killer. But I guess go ahead.
Very much a procedural, but just like when we talk about Big Sky or any of these shows, that it's a procedural, but there's an overarching story. Like each season, there's one big main bad guy, and it's always. I don't know that anybody who's watching this didn't watch the original series, so I don't want to reference certain ones in case they haven't, but
it fit well. On that point, real quick. This episode was built in a way where you really have to be familiar with the show, I think.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering that. Is it built in a way where you could come in not having ever seen Dexter and watch it? I mean, you could, but they don't explain anything about his sister, like, at all. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know what happened in order for any of that to make sense. The stuff, I'm jumping ahead a little, the stuff with his son, that's not a huge deal, but only if you've watched the show is there any impact in that?
Well, in that thing, I was watching it. Megan, we watched like the first couple episodes and she liked it, but it wasn't something she was hell bent on watching. But I had already watched it all, and I was like, well, let's just watch it. And then she got a couple episodes in, didn't want to watch it. Well, when we talked about doing this, I started watching it Sunday afternoon, and she had like a lot of questions, and I was like, I said, I can't explain all this. Cause like you said, they show the sister, there's too much. I'm like, I can't explain everything. I said, do you want to try and watch it again? She said, sure. So we watched it, and I think she's on the second to last episode now, because she's watching it right now. The first season. So they found out who the ice truck killer was and everything.
Well, yeah. And, like you said, there's so much in the past, and I imagine a lot of that's going to get woven in, everything from previous seasons. Well, much of it, because, we have his son showing back up. We have flashbacks to his sister, and and I'm sure potentially plenty of other characters, that he's lost, because he's lost a lot of people. So I imagine he's not just seeing his sister. He's maybe mainly seeing his sister, but I imagine there'll be others. So we'll probably get a lot of guest appearances.
They've already announced some of the cast, so we do know that in fact is going to happen. That some of the past people he dealt with, he's going to see them in visions or whatever. I'll go ahead and just fuck it. John Lithgow will be in this season.
Yeah.
So we know he was cast. And the character is dead, so there's only one way he could return.
I don't know, man. They might Rick Legarsky it.
Oh shit, he has a twin.
My brother.
Big Sky reference for anyone. But yeah, this, I watched the whole, 58 minutes was the length of the episode, and it put a smile on my face. I was sitting there like, wow, this is so well done. The episode was brilliant in its simplicity, because basically the whole episode is seeing where it's 10 years later. Dexter hasn't killed in 10 years. He's moved on. He's hiding, essentially. He's got a whole new life going on, and it's him building these routines in order to stay, quote unquote, normal. And of course, two things occur. One, his son returning, and then two, a villain approaches, that at least what he deems a villain, what fits the category of what he used to kill, approaches, and then he has to make the decision, what am I going to do? But yeah, that was the bulk of the episode, but it was just very well paced. I thought I really enjoyed um the whole thing.
Well, and rewatching the first season, it helps me kind of remember some of the groundwork that his, Harry, his adopted father, put in place for him, because he always told him he has to show emotion to fit in, even if he doesn't feel it, like smile in pictures and do all these things. But for him to go through a routine, he's laying less low than he was always told to do. Because yes, he's in a very small town, but everybody in the town knows who he is. So it's not like in Miami where he's in a big town and the only people who really know who Dexter is are the couple people he works with in the police department. Nobody else really knew who he was. And he did that on purpose. He didn't want to, remain low profiled, but everybody in this town knows him. So I'm curious if him being less, I guess, under the radar and being more well known is going to be an issue.
Yeah, and because of the change in setting, and I guess sort of the loss of most, if well, nearly all of the extended cast from and characters from previous seasons, it seems like there's a lack of baggage. There's a lot of new stuff. You still have that history, and you still have that history to pull from if you want to, but they can pretty much, because it's a new setting, just kind of do whatever they want. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what sort of connections we have, how like then all the new characters are working so far, and they could take it in roughly the same direction, or they could go some new places. It's a small town where everybody knows each other. It could kind of be like a little, and I think I referenced Twin Peaks too much, but it could have sort of a Twin Peaks feel to it.
Yeah. And did y'all watch the preview for the season that
the one after the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
Because so there's definitely things going on. Like, it seems like a fairly normal area in town, but we get these little subtle scenes where they're talking about all these women that have gone missing. And the trailer gives you a tiny little taste of it, and clearly there's some shit going down. And it's gonna play into the plot, definitely.
Yeah, they showed her talking to the the trooper.
Mm-hmm.
His girlfriend talking to the trooper, and they're like going over some cases and stuff. And Dexter walks in to see his girlfriend, and she's looking at this board, and she was just hanging up a new missing girl sign. And then she mentioned it. She was just like, "This is not the first one. There's been many going missing lately, and they don't know why." So
yeah, I think the two you have. Well, I guess we're jumping around. The Dexter he found a new target, and it was this young asshole guy. The second he walked in the store, I was like, yeah, he's doomed. like I mean, he just such an asshole. And we through the course of the episode learned that he was directly responsible for the death of 5 people in a boating accident. Turns out it wasn't so much of an accident. And so at this point, Dexter's like, well, shit, he fits. Like, there's the moment in the bathroom when Dexter's learning the truth, and you can see him thinking he matches the target, that Dexter likes to hunt. And so the scene with the deer, which obviously to me had a lot of symbolism. There's this deer, and Dexter hunts it every day, but doesn't kill it. He doesn't take the kill shot. And then here, this guy kills it in front of Dexter. And I also like that he made the point when he was pissed at the guy. He's like, "You could have killed me. I was standing right next to it." But Dexter becoming this killer. But the guy mentioned his father, and he's like, "My father is this and that." And so clearly Dexter is going to be having to deal with the father, and then also this other plot where these women are being taken. Now, are those two connected? Possibly, don't know.
And I think when you talk about I don't know what those are called, albino deer or white deer. Like, it was really cool looking. It was huge.
Yeah.
But because it didn't quite look like a reindeer. And I know that they're way up north, but I don't,
It didn't have the horns or
it didn't have
the same kind.
the fur on the horn type thing. But that to me it like symbolizes innocence, like his purity, because he came back, he stopped killing, like he's a good guy again. But then when that deer got shot, like you said, to me it symbolized that innocent Dexter that he's been trying to show everybody, this good guy, is gone now. And even when he stabbed him, when he killed the guy, he was talking about, I'm not a serial killer anymore. And he said, who am I kidding? I've always been one.
Yeah, he even said, I'm Dexter Morgan. Like, he's embracing it again. Like, this is what I am.
Absolutely. It's I'm so on board with what you said, that it's like it felt telegraphed before it happened, and like you said, it was still a good scene, but I was like, oh, that thing's gonna die, and it's gonna be that shithead who does it, and that'll be the thing to trigger Dexter. He's making this effort, but outside forces, he just can't ignore the shitty behavior. It's his trigger, in the way that a lack of manners is a trigger for Hannibal.
Well,
yeah,
and I loved the fact that he tried to blame it on his parents, because
That's Dexter's story.
Yeah, but yes, 100%. But Dexter embraced what he was, and this guy, instead of embracing it, blamed it. And his dad, who wasn't there, my dad's not there. But then immediately he's like, my dad will tear you apart. My dad will do this. So his dad not being there didn't make him a piece of shit. His dad probably giving him money and basically getting him in trouble all these times. And just like his friend who took the rap for the boating accident, he basically had all these people bail him out over and over and over. He is that normal, entitled piece of shit that everybody knows at least one of them. I'm not saying everybody's friends with one of them, but everybody knows at least one of those people. And he is an entitled asshole, because the boating accident, I don't remember exactly. He said that they were playing chicken, but the people in the other boat, there was a reason he was going after them, and I don't remember why.
Well, then they turned. Like,
Yeah,
the other boat was turned, and he still rammed them, causing all the death, just because he was probably high as shit and just didn't give a fuck.
Well, like Spencer was saying, like, dude said that he had a personal vendetta against the guy in the other boat too. So that's
I remember what it
that,
was.
like that's another reason, for Dexter, like, because that's that 100%, like you were both saying, that fits the profile. And as much as Dexter was trying to run away from this by going to this small remote town where hopefully nothing happens, it's right there in his face. And I'm pretty sure, if he doesn't die this season in some way, and if there is multiple seasons, that kid's father is going to be a persistent thorn in his side. Probably even another person who he can't kill because he suspects Dexter, but he's still causing issues for him.
He's the new Dokes.
That's who I want to see, like as a vision, Dokes. I want to see Dokes show up in that cabin.
God,
Talking to himself.
Yeah, it was a great hell of a character.
We just started rewatching it. Like, well, my wife has never watched the season 3, but I just started rewatching it, and every time he pops in, I at least start laughing, because he suspects Dexter from the jump. Like, he doesn't know what it is.
He's a good guy. Like, he's technically the hero.
Yeah.
And it goes really bad.
Yeah, it's just so funny because the surprise motherfucker, like, is to Dexter. There was an episode where Dexter's like dancing because he's like trying to do the blood splatter with the knife, and Dokes walks around the corner and he said something in regards of "better be careful, boy." He's like, "I'm watching you," and he's like, "Your psych evaluation and you're not passing it." Like, something like that. This Dexter was dancing with a knife, like pretending to throw blood everywhere. It was funny, but I'm curious because I know they're not trying to rehash the same characters, but the thing that got him almost caught all those times was somebody was always onto him. So I'm curious as to who in this new town is going to be onto him.
Yeah, there was always a cat and mouse element to pretty almost every season. Like somebody was sort of like, they couldn't prove it, but they suspected.
Are you leading? Were you leading in with a pun to at least my favorite new character, Brian?
Who?
The cat and mouse.
Oh, I was not, but he's in my notes. Fred Jr. I mean, Dexter works at a little sporting goods store, Fred's, and Fred Jr. Runs it. And I mean, I'm like, holy shit. It's Cat Guy from Only Murders in the Building. And there's a whole bit that lasts the entire episode about him and his husband trying to buy a dog that they're going to name after a cat, Garfield. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's no way this is a coincidence. This can't, this is something, maybe someone works on both productions, or I don't know, but it put a smile on my face.
I was going to say, maybe just the cat guy thought it was funny. Like maybe he brought it up. He's just like, hey.
Could be his agent's idea. He's like, yeah, you do murder mysteries now. And your angle is every time you have a pet, and progressively you have more and more animal hair on your shirt. You're like, you're the gross, unkept animal guy.
That is your character. I love this. So Dexter's dating a woman named Bishop. I'm assuming that's her last name. And yeah, they do say her first name, and I can't recall what it is. But my favorite scene is when it's the little protest, because Dexter comes up and it's her and her daughter. And Dexter, he's because he's a psychopath, and he's always trying to pretend that he's try to be like a normal person. And so whenever he is with somebody and they have a kid, I always love his interaction with young people because it's awkward. Go back to the first season, go back to any season. He's very awkward, and there was classic Dexter there, like him trying to interact and be like a normal guy. And I don't know that. I just always love the way he plays the part is somebody playing a part. You know what I mean? Like that's how the character comes off.
And he doesn't know when to inject humor into a situation. It's a serious thing for them that protest, and he's just like, oh, well, looks like somebody's not getting their sandwich in time. Cuts a little smile.
Well, and that's a great observation, because that's what makes me enjoy the character so much. Is it's humorous, but it's humorous in a way almost that it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, because it's actually disturbing if you really think about it. Yeah.
Which I don't know if that means that I'm disturbed and I think it's funny, or if it's supposed to be like I don't know, but I fucking die laughing all the time watching this show.
Oh no, I think there's a lot of comedy in the series overall. In fact, there's some points where I think in the earlier seasons where they even undercut, his serious inner monologue with comedy. So yeah, there are definitely some comedic moments in this.
Okay, I'm glad that somebody else saw it, because then I'm not the only messed up individual.
The son was interesting. So the whole time somebody's stalking him, and for a second I was like, is this a real person? But it's like, yeah, we saw them get off the truck, so he wasn't there when they arrived. So yeah, this has to be a real person. And like you guys have been saying, everyone is dead. Like there aren't too many thinking of characters that would even be around. So I'm like, who the hell would be going after him but him and Rita's son? I was like, holy shit. That makes perfect sense. And thinking about how many years have passed and how old he'd be. The series is called New Blood. Now, is this, and this is what I really want to go into, will Dexter die this season? Will they finally wrap up the Dexter Morgan story? Is this alluding to the possibility of his son having a similar issue and taking over? Or perhaps the opposite. Maybe they battle each other. I don't know, but it is called New Blood, I'm assuming, for a reason. I'm assuming that's a reference to the son. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What do you guys think in terms of his character and what's going to come?
I'm not sure. I think when read the title and found out that his son showed up, that's my initial thought, is that he's training the new blood, the next killer. But I don't know that they may play this season as kind of like a prequel to the spin-off series and then jump ahead a couple years, because there, I don't know that, just doing the math, because the season started in 2006, like the series started in 2006, and by the time him and Rita had a kid together, like 2009-ish, 8, 9-ish, something like that. So the kid would only be like 14. And that kid was not 14. Like, I mean, he might be 14, but as far as being good, as good as Dexter was, because by the time, he's a crime scene investigator, even in season 1, he's got how many little like blood drop slides he has. Like, he's been doing it for a hot minute.
Quite a
Like,
few.
so even by the time we, meet Dexter, that wasn't his first kill. He's been doing it for a while, but his son at 14, even him being able to teach his son how to do it, to me, it would take more than a season, or they'd have to do a time jump, so that way, to me, it'd be a little bit more believable for this child to be able to start serial killing. Like, he'd have to be at least a little bit bigger, a little bit older, a little bit more physically able, or just super smart and able to like lure people into traps, or but at his age, it'd be harder for me to believe, going long term, if they were going to start a new series, basically starring the son.
Well, yeah, and I think you're right, and I think that's the angle, that his son's character is a little harder to believe, a little more awkward, and in an age where he's more likely to get caught. So I think it, to some degree, it may be a little of column A, a little of column B. They may have a couple of seasons playing where Dexter's training him and everything, and not only trying to cover up his awkwardness, but maybe even trying to cover up the awkwardness and the obviousness of what they are with his son as well, who maybe isn't used to hiding the same way that Dexter hides, or like, and it could come to the point where Dexter, where they're cornered, and Dexter either turns himself in or he dies, and appears, and he appears to be the killer, and they're like, oh, he was Dexter Morgan, but it's really he's covering things up for the kid. Either way, it seems like it is sort of about a passing of the baton.
How do you guys want this to end? That's a big question, but people were so disappointed with the way the series ended. Like, we never thought we were going to get this. We thought it was over, lumberjack Dexter all going off, and it's like, whatever. A lot of people weren't happy with the ending of Deborah, the sister. I don't know. People just were like, the show in the last couple seasons just sort of, I don't know, lot. I don't say jump the shark, because it really didn't completely jump the shark, but it I don't know, it just became less interesting, maybe. At least,
Yeah.
It sort of did. Um, True Blood jumped the shark. Another show from that time. There's a show that was amazing for about a season, and then shit got crazy. But now that they have the chance to, okay, they're bringing it back. This first episode's getting a lot of positive reviews. People are like, wow, this was actually really well done. How should this wrap up Dexter Morgan? Should he die, go to prison, or how would you end his story? Because for me, it's death seems like the most logical thing. I don't know that I could see him riding off into the sunset happy, because even this episode highlights the fact that no matter what he's doing for 10 years, he still constantly thinks about killing. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It consumes him. And so I don't know that there's any way that he stops doing it. So either you kill the character, you put him in prison. I don't know. What do you think they should do?
The thing is,
what would piss you off or not piss you off? I think that's a better question.
I don't know. I think that I would be actually most frustrated if they brought this back to basically just undo the last like episode or two, like, because in my opinion, although it wasn't the best finale, I didn't hate it because it still made sense. Dexter was very resourceful, super smart. He kind of blended in. It to me, it wasn't that unbelievable because although he is a sociopath, although he is, crazy, although he is a legit psychopath, like he's a serial killer, but he's also super smart. He's also low key. He also, flew under the radar for a long time. So for this to happen the way it did, and him still getting fight or flight and wanting to survive and basically running away after almost everyone in his, family, immediate friends, everybody died. It, I didn't hate it, but them bringing the show back, I'm super excited. I love the character. I love Dexter as a character. So them bringing him back and essentially the staring at the camera, the little off, cuff comments, the inner dialogue. I love the way the show's written. So to me, the only way it would ruin it is if by the end of this season, um, it that's it. Like even if they kill him at the end and they do a spinoff, I'd be okay with that. Or if they let him right off into the sunset and there's still a spinoff, like I wouldn't be mad. But if they basically brought it back for one season to right the wrong, so to say, of the last episode, I'd be pissed.
And I feel like the way they'll do it, well, at least I'm hoping is, like, I feel like the way out is potentially, like you said, Spencer, his death or him in jail, and likely his death. But if they do it right, I don't think there is a show without Dexter. So I'm hoping that if it ends that way, and if he like clears his son's name and makes an out for him, that you just leave that part up to the imagination, because we've ended Dexter's story, which is the core of this story, and to try to spin it into something else that may land a little flat. We don't know if we can follow this kid and have it be interesting even. Uh, but yeah, I feel like the remainder of the season, well, what we're going to get is a lot of Dexter shaping, because he's playing a character all the time. He's going to shape who this kid's character is for him, and that kid will maybe live as that person. And towards the end, once they're cornered, Dexter will likely make a sacrifice in order to save his son, because what he starts with saying at the beginning of this, and thinking to himself, is that everybody he loves or that he gets involved with these things, they all die. So it'll be an inversion of that. It'll be him making a sacrifice so that there's somebody left.
What's really going to be fun also is that, in the preview, we see that they're going to use Dexter's house as a base command to try and find this guy that he killed. And everyone trusts and loves Dexter. Like they spend about half the episode really pushing that idea that, he's really important in that community. He has his girlfriend. Everybody likes him. The pastor on the ladders, oh, Dexter, he can just walk freely and hang out in the police station while they're talking police business. And they trust him. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy that everybody likes. So when suspicion arises or if anything bad starts to point back at him, it's going to be interesting to see how the town reacts. Do they back him? Do they say this is all bullshit, and then they completely take his side? Like it's going to be interesting seeing the town and Dexter and how that all plays out.
I thought of something that would, I don't know if, to me it would actually not ruin it, it'd just be really fucked up if Harrison is the reason all these girls are going missing. Like if his son was already.
I was thinking that potentially.
Yeah. Like what if
that would be pretty interesting.
By the end of this season, like it's either
have I made you proud, Dad?
Well, yeah. Does he kill his son because his son became a psychopath, or does he try to teach him right from wrong? Like that's what I'm saying. Like to me, that would add a different dynamic to the show.
And here's a thought too, because that was a thought I had also. But
it's like Venom and Carnage.
Yeah. I was also thinking. I'm sorry, I was thinking about that Venom movie.
I know.
But what if it's Harrison's mother? Like, is she confirmed dead? Because she was like, Dexter left him with her, and he never said she was dead. So
Rita,
Hannah.
Oh, Hannah.
Remember, he left her with Hannah, his love interest for the last like 2
Oh
seasons.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean his birth mother. I mean,
Yeah. I was like, whoa, you missed
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
important
Like, right.
episode.
Yeah, that would be a twist. That'd be a hell of a
One of the
twist.
most shocking endings I've ever in television. Okay, yeah, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's all I was saying. Like, what if it's her? Because her thing, she was the woman who was like poisoning people before too, right? Wasn't that her thing? Um, and like, if I'm correct, because I know he dated someone who was like a poisoner, and I believe it was Hannah, if I'm correct. Uh, but
Yes.
okay, so I
She
am
was
right.
using like plants and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So, and she was very excited about going to Havana with him and everything, and what if she sees this as Dexter starting another life without her, being happy without her, and it's just eating at her, and she's killing women who fit a profile of like sort of being his type. It could be her, it could be, we don't have a lot to go on, but I'm thinking like those are my main two suspects right now. It's either the boy or it's potentially his, like Spencer said, or it's potentially his mother.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of a lot of possibilities. I didn't even think about in terms of who's capturing or killing these girls. If it can tie back to Dexter, like that, that would be interesting if it did. Um, yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a good theory.
It's like, or it's Batista from the original series. It's like, I always knew it was you, Dex. Like, but
I know Masuka, man.
like, but yeah, he would make more sense. Like, but now that you mention it, if any of the previous characters was doing this, it would make sense for it to be him. Like, but yeah, to answer your question earlier, also, I think the ending that I would hate the most is if everything falls apart. And actually, I might like this. It would be funny at this point. And Dexter just gets in his truck and starts over, and he like marks the name of the town off of a list. It's like, pan out to cheery music, go your own way or something.
He just starts over again. Another 10 years. Yeah, it's gonna.
Well,
Go
actually,
ahead.
oh shit, that would make sense because that would come full circle. And it's either the first or second episode. I think it might be the first episode or the second. There was a guy who he's been in tons of other stuff, but he got a bunch of DUIs and he killed somebody at a town, wrecked and killed another person, killed a lady and her baby in a car, paralyzed somebody else, and he was drunk driving. And one of the conversations that he had with Dexter was he said, always you can always start a new life in a new city. So he would just go to new cities after he'd kill somebody and basically just start over. And then Dexter found him, killed him, or whatever. But that would be a great tie-in, Larry. Like him just being like, "Oh, can't be here anymore. Got to move." Like because that was
Right.
like the first people he killed. That was what they did. Well, kill the show anyway.
Did they? And I didn't take the time to look. Did they say where he was
I thought it was,
specific?
Alaska, but I don't remember where.
Yeah.
That's what they said at the end of the final season was he moved to Alaska.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I assumed I didn't know if they had set a specific area, but yeah. Yeah. Man, it looked cold.
Nope.
It did.
Oh, does
He
it
is
say?
now living under the assumed name in upstate New York.
Oh shit. Okay.
It just says it. It says set 10 years after Dexter Morgan went missing in the eye of Hurricane Laura. He is now living under an assumed name in upstate New York in Iron Lake, far from his original home in Miami.
Huh. Yeah, because I thought Alaska too. So yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah, I just knew it was insanely cold. I was like, man.
Well, upstate New York, if you get anywhere near like
Yeah.
Lake Erie, it's like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
fucking cold.
But Yeah, with just one episode in, and I was hooked. It was the kind of ending where the credits start rolling, and I'm like, if this was streamed and there were multiple episodes, I'd be binging it. Like right now, I'd be burning through it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on that because, like you mentioned with the previous series, the premise just got a little old at some point, but uh, with this season, I'm definitely back on board. I enjoyed this episode, and I imagine we'll find out when the reviews come out that everybody else hated it because I liked it so much. So
No, they were positive. I actually looked. This first episode. Now I don't know how many episodes some of the critics got access to. Typically they'll get like a quarter to half the season, but this specific episode is doing very well, getting a lot of positive buzz. So that's good.
yeah,
So yeah, anything else about the premiere of Dexter New Blood?
No.
yeah,
It got a 9.4.
Yeah.
9.1, sorry, on IMDb.
Yeah, I checked several sites and it was very positive.
yeah, and I think it's definitely earned it because I was very skeptical about starting the series back again. I didn't know if they were going to stick the landing.
They have the names of episodes 1 through 8. Episode 9 is not named. Do you see what episode 10's name is?
I saw the one that I'm going to have to figure out a way to type it without typing it. I think it's episode 3 or something.
Oh.
No, Storm of Fuck.
Yeah, that was the
Episode
one.
2.
2. There you go.
Smoke Signals is 3. H is for Hero. Runaway. Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. Skin of Her Teeth. Big Game. And then episode 9 is not named. And then episode 10 is Sins of the Father. So
Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. Do you think that's the one where Harrison gets mad at Dexter, just trying to, bury himself in this routine and just slaps a tuna sandwich out of his hand?
he's like, it's lunchtime, son. You know what that means.
tuna sandwich.
He's like, I go to the diner, ate my goddamn tuna sandwich. Like, we pretend to live a normal damn life, and
he's like, why, Dad? So I won't kill.
Like, I just want a damn sandwich. Is that too much, Harrison?
I want a mundane, boring ass tuna fish sandwich.
Otherwise, I will kill. The bloodlust.
It's like I sit here, I read Family Circus, and I eat a tuna fish sandwich.
Reads his Sunday funnies.
I love the fact that they build up the idea of the routine. He has a very set routine, and that keeps him going. But then you think about it, and you're like, my God, it's been 10 years. He does this shit every day for 10 years.
I would have lost it. I bet they do that same dance like every week.
They said that they do. They were like, you haven't missed it. They kept making that reference. They were like, you never miss a night.
They knew his order at the bar.
Yeah.
The exact drink, the vegan nachos or whatever, and like it was a set thing that he always gets.
I bet they play all the same tracks every night. Well, not every night, but every week.
A bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee, and then he goes to the pastry place. And then
See, in all reality, like I'm not a serial killer by any means, but if I had to do the exact same thing every day just to pretend that I was normal, I would probably kill somebody just to break the monotony. Jesus.
I could just feel my lungs burning when he was running in the snow. I was like, woo, you know how that shit feels. But the fact that he like tracks this thing down every day to hunt, like that's not only, I guess, that's a part of his process is the hunt. He just doesn't take the shot.
Right. And speaking of that, speaking of his other hunt, I also have a feeling that it feels like to me, and I don't know if you two feel this way either, it feels like in a way he kind of wants to get caught because that seems like a very sloppy way to hide a body. Like even the way he did it when he was the Bay Harbor Butcher, where it's like, hey, this is going to be found eventually. the way you're just cutting it into these pieces and putting it under the ice to what, preserve it?
I got the vibe. Maybe I'm wrong at the end, especially towards the very end of this episode when he's like, "I am Dexter Morgan," or outside of his son. Yeah, I don't think he gives a shit. I think you might be right. He probably doesn't care anymore. Like maybe that part of the part about I can't get caught. Like obviously he's going to try not to get caught, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that that's because his relationship with Bishop, it's there, but does he really care? Probably no. I mean, he doesn't really care about anything outside. His son. He cares about his son. And he would defend Bishop. I mean, he would defend her, but
yeah, it's like there's this part that subconsciously just kind of wants to be caught. Like he's running through his routine and everything.
Well, it's funny that he's dating a cop. That's even better.
Well, and I think that might subconsciously be to help keep him,
or it could be
like, on the right
I'm thinking
path.
about Deborah. He's dating a cop. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and even when he was with Deborah, like that was weirder. But Rita, he fell in love with Rita as the seasons progressed. Like he mentioned it, he was like, this is something that was normal, because what he wanted was to just be normal. That's what he always wanted, was to have a normal life, to live a normal life, and Rita gave him that. He loved Rita for that,
and he loved that she loved him. Like he really like that shocked him. Like the way there's those moments when he's looking at the way she looks at him and everything's like, oh fuck yeah, this is like a thing.
Yeah, and I feel like he's using her as like a much in the way that I felt he did with Rita too. That he's using her as like sort of a moral compass in a way where he knows where the limits are. Like she's a good way for him to sort of normalize and sort of see what is perceived as normal. What can I do to at least appear to fit in.
It also is helpful to have insider in the police department.
And that too, yeah. And that may have been a subconscious thing in his part too. He's like, well, if I go back to it, I'll know who the criminals are, who they're hunting because of her.
And Deborah. I do think that is awesome. His thing for Deborah. I'm curious if she'll be in every episode.
She's listed on 10 episodes.
Damn. I mean, she was a co-lead in some seasons, basically. So yeah, anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, I think that's literally everything.
Well, we will be doing the whole season. So if you enjoyed this, please hit the sub button and leave a thumbs up. If you thought of anything or we missed something or you think that was something, a theory about something, go ahead and put that in the comments. We do read them. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.